just changed overnight.
1 minute, 60-year-old Curtis Dixon was receiving $100,000 for a good deed.
We need more people like Curtis in this world.
A week and a half later, last Monday, witnesses say Dixon was hogtied in his burned-out SUV on Detroit's east side.
I woke up, I'm like, what's going on?
He survived. Sources say there are some inconsistencies in Dixon's story, but he claims he met someone in the area of Mount Elliott in Nevada. From there, he was kidnapped, driven to ATMs to pull out money, then beaten, tied up, and his car set ablaze. Several days into this investigation, the feds picked up the case from Detroit police. The ATF now investigating this as a possible arson, kidnapping, and extortion.
And hopefully they catch whoever did it to him, because we don't want that in our neighborhood.
Last month, Dixon was gifted $100,000 from MD Motivator.
So here's Mike Huckabee. He is the ambassador from the United States to Israel because he's the biggest Zionist in the world. He's a bigger Zionist than people inside Israel. That's what a nutcase he is. And here he is to gaslight you about his Zionist control of our media, our government, and our establishment thought leaders. Here we go.
This is another question that is Israel blackmailing the U.S. government with the Jeffrey Epstein files? Again, what a ridiculous kind of unfounded, unverified allegation.
The next thing you're going to tell me is that Building 7 didn't fall into its own footprint because it wasn't hit by a plane. What are you going to tell? Come on. You going to tell me Iraq didn't have weapons of mass destruction? What are you, nuts?
It emanates from someone's imagination. Nobody's provided one shred of evidence to indicate that there's any truth to it. Reckless allegations, whether it's against an individual or a country, are just that. They're reckless and they're harmful. Just like no one would want to have people say crazy things about them individually or their families, people ought to push back when anyone, whether it's a podcast host or just somebody making a speech, gets up and says something as unfounded as that somehow Israel was behind Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, yeah, it is crazy. It's a crazy idea. It's just nuts. Even though Kash Patel and everybody was saying that they were. But here's the New York Post. Israel blackmailed Bill Clinton with Monica tapes. What? Spy hunt ended after Mossad bugged the president's sex chats. That's from the New York Post. Here's from the Times of Israel. Netanyahu said to have offered Lewinsky tapes for Pollard. Pollard was a traitor to America for Israel, and he was in jail, so they wanted to get him out. And so that's what that story's about. It says, new critical book on the Clinton family claims that Israel tapped the White House phones, blackmailed president with recordings of intern. And that's exactly what happened. That's their MO. Everybody knows that's their MO. They do false flags, they spy on everybody, and they commit assassinations. That's what they do. And let's remember who Huckabee is. Huckabee most recently had a meeting with that spy, that traitor to America, secretly. It was a secret. You're not supposed to do that. He should have been fired immediately. But of course, he's doing this secret stuff and lying on behalf of Israel, the establishment, the people who control Donald Trump, the Zionists, the people who control him, the Miriam Adelsons, those people. They control him, the Bibi. So Huckabee held a meeting at the U.S. Embassy with the American who spied for Israel, Jonathan Pollard, who was convicted of espionage against the United States. This guy's having a secret meeting with him. Said in an interview that the meeting, which was highly unusual for a U.S. diplomat to attend, had been friendly. This guy, Jonathan Pollard, was an ex-U.S. United States intelligence analyst. He spent 30 years in prison on espionage conviction after being found to have passed documents to Israel. And that's the guy that Huckabee's having a friendly meeting with, off the record, in secret. And that's the guy who's here to tell you that, what are you, nuts? Crazy allegations that Epstein had anything to do with Israel and the Mossad? What are you, nuts? Well, it's beyond, like, parody at this point. It's beyond ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. Let's read a little bit of this. Israel blackmailed President Clinton with phone tapes of his steamy SCX talks with Monica Lewinsky. A blockbuster new book charges the price Clinton paid for the silence of the Mossad spy agency was calling off an FBI hunt for a top-level Israeli mole allegedly installed at the White House. The allegation appears in Gideon Spies, The Secret History of the Mossad, written by respected author Gordon Thomas, and due out next week. Asked for comment, the White House spokesperson P.J. Crowley replied, "The only thing I can possibly say is we'll skip the book and wait for the movie." That's from 1999. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't know already, that's how the Zionists and the foreign interests of Israel have been compromising our government. Our government's run by a bunch of blackmailed SCX deviants, right? And a lot of them pedos. So that's the deal. And then when you get a guy like Mike Huckabee, who, again, this is akin to being a traitor to our country, meeting with this guy on a friendly basis. This guy who did 30 years. This is the guy that Israel tried to blackmail Bill Clinton to get. Unbelievable. So, and here's, by the way, this guy's name is, I have it. This guy's name is Ari Ben Manash. He's a former Israeli intelligence officer, and here's what he had to say.
I believe that the American government is sort of trapped by the Israelis. Jeffrey Epstein is one of their tools to trap them. They trapped a number of U.S. presidents by using Jeffrey Epstein. And it wasn't only about, it was also the money issue. Where was the money coming from? And I believe the Israelis have the American government captive due to what happens with Epstein, or what happened in the past with Epstein.
That's a former Israeli intelligence officer, Ari Ben Manash. And now you know the rest of the story. And now you know how the Mockingbird media happens. And now you know why they want you to stop asking questions. And not just shut up. Be a good boy. And if you'd like to hear my jokes about this, come see me January 11th. That's a Sunday in Waikiki, Hawaii. And then January 30th, I'll be in Los Angeles at the Comedy Store. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Even if the TPUSA, CIA, etc., didn't know about or are complicit in Charlie's death, they're all capitalizing off it bigly. Black Lake. People Candace is investigating and speaking that live while it's happening. What she is doing is no different than all investigators do without a camera on them. You review every single detail. That's right. And somebody said it's like throwing spaghetti on, well, that's what one analogy. But how about asking questions and doing research? That's not bad. That's good. Is it Losi Center has always been suspiciously named, or is it the Lucy Center? I don't know, Stoop Sign. Could have just paid a fine for flying drones. No kidding, right? For the safety. There's plenty of money to protect Charlie, but they couldn't break the rules. Yeah, that's ridiculous, the judge. JFK's circle set him up, but no chance Charlie's insider set him up, and they're connected to the same ideology of JFK's insiders. Also, Erica's kids are getting death threats. I need receipts for that one. Cornpop. $1 Million Trooper, gaslight me harder, Pastor Daddy McCoy. The Mike lavalier he was wearing looked like it was loaded with a small amount of explosives like the pagers in Lebanon. Fidelity. It was the microphone like with the pager attack. The shot was timed for sound just to provide plausibility for the roof shooter theory. Cameron, thank you, Cameron, for that. Could the camera that was removed have been linked to the bang? Or the electrocution Coleman has theorized? Thank you, KB. Baron Coleman said it was electrocuted, Kate. He was electrocuted. Watch Baron Coleman. Darren. Thank you, Darren. Supposedly, MLK Jr. was killed with a 30-06, which ended up inside him, but it hit his jawbone, then his collarbone, then one of his shoulder blades, 3 hard bones in order to stay inside him. Sparky. Jimmy, Baron Coleman video Thursday night is very important. Looks like electrocuted. Sissy. Appreciate that. Mass formation means mass hypnosis. Savage. Who here knows about Jade Helm and our friends with Ian Carroll? Thank you for that one, A. Barnes. If TPUSA cared about Charlie's legacy, they wouldn't have immediately after he was killed accepted the large Zionist donation Charlie rejected. Okay, I get you on that one, and that's from Navali. Thank you, Navali. Christian TPUSA wants the mouth of Tim Pool at their events. Scott Farrell. Mass formation in 4K. Savage. The Zionists attempted another mass formation with Charlie Kirk. Focus everyone's attention on one singular event, just like COVID-19. Say it isn't so. Savage. Look at you, Pat Ann. Thank you, Pat Ann. Pow. We stand by Candace. I trust her beyond anyone else. Kamuski.
Okay.
Awesome segment. Thanks, Jimmy and Candace. Casera. Or is it Kesera? Back to Jimmy.